No way. I'm Dr. Karan, and today I'm going to be answering some questions about the COVID-19 vaccine. How does the COVID-19 vaccine work? Well, they work like all vaccines. They send a signal to your immune system. Your immune system makes antibodies to fight the virus. They don't change your DNA, they don't contain the active virus, and there's no evidence to suggest it affects fertility. How do I know the vaccine is safe? Well, for one, there's no way it would ever have been approved for use by millions of people if there was any doubt over its safety, and there's no part of the process that's been skipped. There's been more resources, more funding, more researchers, and more scientists because the world needed it. What's in the vaccine? Is there meat in it? There's no human or animal products or egg in the COVID-19 vaccine ingredients list. You can learn way more about the COVID-19 vaccines at the British Red Cross website, so check it out for yourself and swipe up.
Hi, I'm Nana Crawford and I'm the social media manager at the British Red Cross, and I'm talking about our vaccine hesitancy campaign, which won Best Use of Social Media for the Drum Social Purpose Awards. Our original brief was based around some polling research that we'd done around vaccine hesitancy. Our research showed that young people, sort of under 35, 36, and people from Black British and British Asian communities were less likely to take up the vaccine because of misinformation that was spreading around via social media. For us, the British Red Cross has always been involved in mass immunisation programmes, and we really want to become a trusted voice in the public health sector. So it was really important for us to use social media to combat the myths that were spreading and to kind of provide facts. So to help people feel really empowered and knowledgeable around the decisions that they were making in taking up the vaccine.
We wanted to make sure that our social content was reinforcing facts and not fiction and not helping to spread misinformation. So to do that, we looked on social media itself and also at our research to identify some of the key and common myths that were spreading. These included things like the vaccine affects your DNA, the vaccines were rushed. So what we did was we created bespoke social media assets for our different social platforms. These included very short TikTok videos, Instagram carousels, explainer videos on Facebook to try and address each myth.
Our content was tailored for each of the channels. So we had on Instagram, the content was carousels. We had lots of Instagram carousels with information about each of the myths that we were trying to bust and some facts. We worked with the influencers to create reels as well, because obviously Instagram is now all about video content and reels. So we wanted to make the content really relatable to the channel and how people would receive the information. On Twitter, it was very focused on what people were talking about, what was in the news then and there. That's really important when you're doing any campaign around tailoring the content for the channel, because there's no point just kind of hacking something and just chucking it on the channel. People consume social media differently on those channels, so we had to make sure that the content that was on those channels was how people would consume it as well.
We wanted to make it relatable, and we weren't afraid to have fun with it because ultimately it was our best performing channel, and I think that shows.
The biggest challenge with the vaccine campaign was what was happening in the world. When the vaccines came out, there were so many rules. We had multiple lockdowns. We were told, to get the first jab and then you'd have to wait 12 weeks for your next jab, but then that was brought up to 8 weeks. So as we were kind of delivering the campaign, government guidelines were changing, things were changing all the time. So we had to be adaptable and we had to be super flexible around the content. So if we put out a reel with an influencer that says, this particular thing, and the next day it's just like, well, actually you can do this now. It's like, right, okay, so that information no longer is current. So we need to put out more current information. I think that was what was really good about using TikTok, because we could provide that up-to-date information as things were changing.
In terms of social results, our content had over 1.6 million impressions and over 100,000 engagements. We had a target of reaching 10 influencers from Black British and British Asian communities, and we ended up using around 21 that had a reach of over 375,000. So we were actually reaching the communities that the misinformation was spreading within.
Biggest piece of advice that I would give to an organisation or an agency or anyone who wants to execute a campaign that's based on either public health or information that the wider public space would be reading is that sometimes it's important to understand that although you have the channel and the presence to talk about something, you're not necessarily the right person to talk about something. And what I mean is through influencers. So although we are the British Red Cross, yes, we know that, and our channels are there, but when people come to our channels, they see that kind of corporate banner, as it were. So putting faces on our channels and having faces that people can see in themselves and find relatable was really important for us, because we knew that, you know, in the scale of, you know, like organisations that you're likely to trust or people that you're likely to trust, cooperations and kind of big organisations weren't at the top. So it was really important for us to have those kind of singular faces and to have people that people could relate to.
My one piece of advice for delivering a social media campaign would be always put the user and the audience like front of mind. Put yourself in the mind of your followers. You know, if you saw this post or this particular campaign, how do you want to make them feel? What do you want to get across? So I guess it's just always remembering, what does our audience want? What does our audience need? And how can we listen to them better to make ourselves better?
So we created and launched the infomercial on Vladimir's page. In the copy, we added a line to get people to call a hotline number. And when they called it, they heard a bespoke track that he'd made, and it subtly mentions Vladimir Crocs. Vladimir's DJ set on both VC's Instagram channel and Crocs Europe. As soon as the limited edition clock had sold out, users were taken to a sold out page in which they could play a retro 8-bit game. Once they play that game, they were to post a screenshot of their high score. That gave them an opportunity to win the last pair of Vladimir Crocs.